Good morning, children. Let's move on to the fifth chapter in English, The World in a Wall. Now, let's come to the author. Gerald Durrell, 1925 to 1997, popularly known as Gary, was a naturalist, author, conservationist, and the television presenter. He founded the Durrell Wildlife Conservation Trust and Durrell Wildlife, formerly known as the Jersey Zoological Park on the Channel Island of Jersey in 1958. He is best remembered for writing a number of books based on his life as an animal collector and enthusiast. His first book, The Overloaded Ark, was published in 1953. He eventually wrote 33 books, including the best-selling The Buffett Beagles, A Zoo in My Luggage, Catch Me, a Colobus, and The Stationary Ark. Now, we come across various difficult words in this lesson. Let us frame sentences with those. Now, enraptured. The audience was enraptured by Lata Mangeshkar's voice. Surreptitiously. I turned around surreptitiously, studying the fat man who had entered the room. Glibly. The boss was angry because the workers glibly completed their projects. Pandemonium. That's chaos here. Pandemonium reigned in the classroom until the teacher arrived. Impassioned. At the end of the trial, the defense attorney made an impassioned plea for mercy for his client. So, The World in a Wall here is written by Gerald Durrell. Now, this is the story of a boy who finds a scorpion on the wall of his house. Now, he knew his mother would not allow him to take it in, so what he did was he kept it in a matchbox, took it inside his house, and placed it on the dining table. And he completely forgot about it. Now, after lunch, his brother Larry opened the matchbox and found the scorpion running, and it had many babies. So scorpion together with its babies were all running around on the dining table. There was a lot of chaos, and the dog Roger thought that it was the maid who was responsible for all this chaos, and it went and bit her ankle. The author was looking at all the commotion in the house, and in the end, he took the scorpion together with his babies and left it back on the wall. By now, the entire family had retired to the drawing room, and the author, together with his dog, went out and spent their time out. So, this is the summary of the lesson. So, let us come to the lesson here. So before that, let us go through what Gerald Durrell did when he was a small boy, and of course he was very much interested in collecting animals, and he had a room where he used to keep all sorts of animals in his house. It was almost like a miniature zoo. So, meet them all in this excerpt from Gerald Durrell's autobiographical novel, My Family and Other Animals. As a child, he lived with his mother, two brothers, and a sister on the island of Corfu. On his regular walks, Durrell collected all sorts of animals. He had so many of these that one of the rooms in the house had to be set aside for what seemed like a miniature zoo. So this the World in the Wall is taken from his autobiographical novel My Family and the Other Animals, and he lived in an island of Corfu with his mother and two brothers and a sister. And as I said, he had the habit of collecting all sorts of animals, and his house was almost like a miniature zoo. Let us come to the characters here. This is Gary. He's driven by imagination and fascinated by the extraordinary world around him. He's fond of roving in fields, discovering marine life, or carrying a scorpion and his babies right up to his bedroom. So, this is Gary, this is the author. Now, the next one. This is Larry. The eldest of the siblings is depicted as a rather conceited character who wants to be an author. Now, this brother Larry thinks only about himself and he wanted to be an author. Unfortunately, his masterpieces happen only in his fancy. The third person is Leslie. This is Leslie. The hot-headed middle son fancies himself the man of the house and often tries to prove himself the head of the family by hunting, gathering, and shooting everything in sight. So Leslie is the middle son and rather hot-headed, and he often tries to think himself that he is the man of the house. Now the fourth person here is Margot. This is Margot. The relatively well-behaved but aimless daughter is greatly concerned about her appearance, but generally engages herself with the local community well. So, this is Margot, who's the daughter of the family, and she's very much, concerned about her appearance. But of course, she engages herself with the local community. The next one is Lugaritzia. She is the long-suffering part-time housekeeper of the Darrell household. Next one is Mrs. Darrell. She's the mother and the head of the family, is level-headed and generally treats our often eccentric family with good cheer and optimism. Rather very, you know, thinks positively, and she treats our eccentric family, that is all the three sons and the daughter, rather with good cheer, and she is very level-headed. Now look at the picture. This is the dog of the family here. This is Roger, the dog. The lumbering dog is incredibly affable and great company, but is often not the sharpest tool in the box. So is quite dumb-witted, and of course sharpest tool in the box means he's quite dumb-witted and not very intelligent, of course. Now let's come to the lesson. Can you see this big scorpion over there? And can you see the babies on its back? Of course, quite scary because scorpions have stings. Is it not? Now, let's come to the lesson. One day, I found a fat female scorpion in the wall wearing what at first glance appeared to be a pale fawn fur coat. So, the author one day found a very fat scorpion on the wall, and when he looked at it, he thought that it was wearing a fawn fur coat. Closer inspection proved that the strange garment was made up of a mass of tiny babies clinging to the mother's back. So, he was wondering whether, when he looked At first glance, he thought that there was actually a fur coat on its back. But when he looked closely, he found that this fur coat was actually a mass of tiny babies, small babies, which were clinging on to its mother's back. I was enraptured by this family, and I made up my mind to smuggle them into the house and up to my bedroom so that I might keep them and watch them grow up. So I was quite taken by this, uh, scorpion, and he wanted to take it into his house. Of course, he knew his mother's not going to allow him in, so he wanted to secretly take it into his house, and that too to his bedroom. Why? Because he wanted to see them grow. With infinite care, I maneuvered the mother and the family into the matchbox and then hurried to the villa. So what did he do? So it is with great care he tried to slowly, you know, keep the mother into and the babies into the matchbox, and he quickly moved to his house. It was rather unfortunate that just as I entered the house, lunch should be served. Of course, he wanted to hide it somewhere. Could be, as he said, he wanted to say, hide it in his bedroom. But the moment he entered the house, he found that lunch was served. However, I placed the matchbox carefully on the mantelpiece in the drawing room so that the scorpions should get plenty of air, and made my way to the dining room and joined the family for the meal. So, what did he do with the matchbox? He took the matchbox and placed it carefully on the mantelpiece. So, now mantelpiece is a shelf just above the fireplace, and he kept it carefully on the mantelpiece in the drawing room so that the scorpions get plenty of air. And he went to join the others at the dining room. Dawdling over my food, feeding Roger surreptitiously under the table, and listening to the family arguing, I completely forgot about my exciting new captures. So he was sitting over there, wasting his time. He was trying to feed the dog, and also which was sitting under the table. And also he was listening to the family, talking. They were arguing. So he completely forgot about his the mother scorpion as well as its babies. So, what are these exciting new captures? Exciting new captures are what he had brought in the matchbox, that is, the scorpion and its babies. At last, Larry, having finished, picked up the matchbox he had brought. So, Larry had already finished his meal, so he got up and picked up the matchbox from the mantelpiece. Oblivious of my impending doom, I watched him interestedly as, still talking glibly, he opened the matchbox. So he was completely unaware, oblivious, unaware. So he was completely unaware of the fact that there was scorpion with its babies inside the matchbox. So the author was looking at him quite, interestingly. He was just looking at him to find out what Larry was going to do. And here, Larry opened the matchbox. Now, I maintain to this day that the female scorpion meant no harm. So, to this day, the author says that the female scorpion did not actually want to harm Larry. She was agitated and a trifle annoyed at being shut up in a matchbox for so long, and so she seized the first opportunity to escape. So, what did the scorpion do? Now, the scorpion, together with its babies, were they in the matchbox for such a long time, and it was rather very, very, annoyed because it was there for such a long time. So, the moment Larry opened the matchbox, it tried to escape. She hoisted herself out of the box with great rapidity. So, just very, very fast, she hoisted herself up, straightened herself out of the matchbox with, a lot of speed. Her babies clinging on desperately, and the babies were there on the back. They were still clinging on to the mother and scuttled on to the back of Larry's hand. And the scorpion quickly, scurried onto the back of Larry's hand. They, not quite certain what to do next, she paused, her sting curved up at the ready. So the scorpion did not know what to do for some time. She just sat on Larry's hand. But of course, the sting was all curved up. And of course, she was, sitting over there ready to attack. Larry, feeling the movement of her claws, glanced down to see what it was. Of course, when Larry found something moving on his hand, he looked down and found the, scorpion. And from that moment, things got increasingly confused. So Larry found the scorpion's hand and he didn't know what to do. And of course, from that moment onwards, there was utter confusion and chaos in the house. Children, there is a small activity for you. Let's match the column. In column A, we have the words, and in column B, the meanings. You're going to match A with the correct meanings in B. Now, the first one is enraptured. Find out the meaning in column B. Yes, the meaning is to be intensely delighted. Second one, surreptitiously. Yes, the second one is, yes children, secretly. Third one, impending. Impending, the meaning is approaching. Fourth one, glibly, is, yes, the meaning, it is smoothly. Last one, maneuvered, is made planned movements. So children, there is an assignment along with this. Please go through the lesson and complete it. So we have finished part 1 of this lesson. The remaining we'll be doing in the next session. Thank you.